Hello and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, where we help dads create a healthier and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval. I am your host, and I am ecstatic to have our guest today helping us talk about getting through college without any debt. I have two teenagers and one preteen, so this is exciting when I connected with her, but a brief show note before I introduce our guest today, and that is the workshop, the Fresh Start workshop is this Wednesday, May 5th. So if it's a free 45-minute workshop, will help you kind of get grounded, get your feet under yourself, and create that vision and direction for yourself. Go to divorcedadsfreshstart.com and register. Even if you can't make it, I will send you the replay. And this is definitely going to help you kind of get that mindset if you're going through this challenging time. So divorcedadsfreshstart.com, check it out. So our guest today is known as the debt-free college coach. She challenges the belief that attending college without debt is a unicorn. She coaches parents of college-bound teens with a unique step-by-step approach to be one of the 600,000 students who graduate debt-free every year. Wow, I didn't realize that. Her mission is to inspire, educate, and equip parents who take an active role supporting their children to live a life of financial freedom. She is creator of Cracking the Code to Free College, is an international best-selling author, and a TEDx speaker. Please welcome Denise Thomas.
Thank you, Jude, for having me on today.
Denise, I told you before we started recording, I am really, really excited about this because I have the girls, and I know that a lot of the men that I talk to and that listen to the show and that I work with, divorce is incredibly financially challenging. That's just a fact of divorce, right? You're splitting households. It becomes more expensive. It's very challenging. And college for kids, especially not only if you have one, but especially if you have multiple like I do, then starts to be a concern and a burden on our minds. So that's why I'm really excited to get through and talk to you how I can do this and get my teeth. Everybody's listening. That's great, but this show's for me today, honestly. But before we really get into the nuts and bolts of that, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into all this.
Well, Jude, we were your typical American family that did not save for college. My husband was in corporate, and we had the 401k. And my husband figured we would just borrow from that for college when the time came. Of course, now I know that would have been a really bad idea financially for us for our retirement, but we're not going to get into that. However, we didn't even have the chance to do that. We had just built our dream home after 15 years of marriage, and a few months later, 2 layoffs and a stock market crash. And it crashed to the point of no return. The problem is that we had just built this giant house on a lake. It was our retirement home. We thought for sure this is it. And then with the layoffs, we realized, hold on, we can't afford this. So we put the house on the market, looked for and found a smaller home, and made the mistake of buying it. So now we have 2 houses. Just saying, there's, the mistakes just keep going. And we have 2 houses, and then he gets let off again. And with the stock market crash, we had to use what was left in the stock market and in savings to pay 2 mortgages and, all the household expenses. All these things were just ridiculous. And then eventually the money starts to run out. We realize that there's just enough left to hire a bankruptcy attorney. And basically that was it. We ended up buying a lawnmower and a trailer and started mowing lawns for a living to put food on the table.
Wow.
But with this bankruptcy, we lost everything. We literally had to liquidate. I'm hearing something in the background. Are you?
It might be I don't hear anything. Is there something coming through on my end?
Yeah, I'm hearing men talking.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Anyway, okay. It's almost like singing. It's a
Oh, yeah.
lovely
Okay.
voice.
Okay.
Just saying. With the bankruptcy, we lost everything. We had to liquidate everything we owned. The toys, the books, the pots and pans, the Christmas decorations, everything had to go.
Wow.
So we had to buy a lawnmower and a trailer so that we could mow lawns and put food on the table. It wasn't long after that, really just a few months, when I realized my daughter was about to start high school and college would literally be around the corner. I'm thinking, how on earth are we going to be able to pay for college? We had no savings and no college fund, no retirement account left to draw from, no home to be able to borrow from the home equity, and a bankruptcy meant no credit to co-sign for student loans.
Yeah.
So that took college loans off the table for us.
Mm.
But to make matters worse, Jude, we were homeschooling our kids. I wasn't even sure if my kids would be accepted to college.
Wow.
At this point, I felt such a weight in my chest, realizing we had totally screwed up. So that's when I started doing the research. And I realized that 30% of college students graduate debt free. And yes, that's 600,000 college students every single year. So I wanted to know, what are they doing? We don't hear about that in the news. You
Right.
know, they don't tell us, oh, kid graduates debt free. That doesn't make news.
Right.
But with more than,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't. It's like
Right.
somebody should know this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with all the talk about forgiving the debt, et cetera. That's the only thing that we
That's
hear
all we
is
hear. It's
everybody has debt, right?
yeah, it's just political. But everybody does not have debt. So with more than 7,000 hours of research, I put my kids through a strategy that earned them 17 scholarships totaling $199,000. They both got 4 years of college debt free with cash left over. And when we dropped off our youngest to college, we bought a 42-foot motorhome and went full-time RVing across the US for 5 years. So when your kids are getting paid to go to college, the parents get to do some cool stuff too.
All right, then that's a good point, right? For all the dads out there listening, there will be a light at the end of the tunnel, and you don't have to mortgage your future and your children's future in order to put them through college.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, that is an absolute amazing story. So you've actually lived this.
Unfortunately, as you said, there are there are tragedies and things that go on in our lives that we're not sure where it's going to take us, but God has a plan. You'll
Yes.
come through it and you'll learn from it. And in some cases, you get to teach others how to go through it as well.
Yes, yes. So, what are some of the biggest challenges in going through this process to you know be debt free after college?
Well, I think part of it is that we're not being told the truth about a lot of the stuff when it comes to high school to college. We're
Okay.
believing myths or even lies or marketing gimmicks, whatever, for the last 3 decades at least. And let me just remind parents that, you know, your kids can only get a very small amount of college loans from the federal government without a cosigner.
Mm-hmm.
The private loans that make up the difference require a cosigner. And guess who that is?
Yep.
That's you, the parent, right? That's
Right.
the dad. The loan then is 100% as much yours as it is your kids. And this can affect your credit score and your buying power.
Right.
So if you can avoid it, you don't want to do co-signing for your kids for student loans. And but what's great about being able to do the college without debt thing is that your child's young adult life is very different from their peers.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of starting off with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, they can enjoy their life without that kind of stress hanging over their heads. My kids have been able to travel abroad every year since graduation.
Wow.
My son, he graduated college with a $10,000 emergency fund already in place.
Wow.
Thank God, because within 3 months of starting his new job, his car needed a new transmission
Hmm.
and his computer needed repairs all in the same month.
Right.
And for
Yep.
my daughter, she actually had her wedding at Disney World 2 months after graduation. And last year, she traveled to Dubai to meet her husband who was on deployment. That wouldn't have happened with college debt.
Right. That's amazing. I remember back, and I shared with this with you before, in having gone to some private colleges and taken out debt for the first couple of years that I was in school, until I started to think about the fact that, oh, this is getting pretty expensive. And then how am I going to pay this back? And nowadays it's even more expensive. And you get out of school, and then I was paying well into my married life, my student debts, and it wasn't as bad. It was not nearly as much as it is now. And now you hear the stories about you got to have roommates and two roommates, or there a lot of kids that graduate are coming back and living at home, right? Because they don't have even the money to pay for or get a place of their own, let alone do all the wonderful things that your children have, because they've got this debt. And then it just doesn't make any step or any sense, right?
Absolutely. And I think the worst part is that nobody's doing the math for your kids in front of your kids to show them exactly what this means for their future, for their life. Because, teenagers live in their own little world. I mean, that's just a fact of life. They don't have a clue how much it really costs to have a household, to pay the bills, and to have a little bit left over so that you can, enjoy life a little bit and have a savings plan. So what I found though is that not only are we not doing the math with our kids, but for decades we've been told wait until high school junior year to take college entrance exams or to even look into college.
Mm,
But waiting to take these exams puts a lot of pressure on our kids that's not necessary. I mean, think about it. Just this past year, I call it the year of COVID, all those kids that waited until junior year,
yep.
uh, they couldn't take those exams.
Right.
And there was so much stress involved with dates getting canceled, et cetera. There's just so much involved that we didn't know or didn't predict, right?
Right.
And another myth is that we've been told you have to attend a top 20 school to be successful. Yet studies show, all things being equal, students graduating from a name brand school versus a state university actually make the same salary out of college.
Interesting. So let's get into some nuts and bolts then of how to overcome some of these challenges, because you shared with me some. And and while you're talking, I'm going to be taking copious notes of this. And also I want to say to the audience that's listening, if you don't catch everything that Denise tells you, she's going to have an offer at the end for you, that's going to be phenomenal. So tune in all the way to the end, and she'll have that, and then we'll have that offer in the show notes as well. But how can parents and kids overcome some of what you just described with these challenges?
Well, Jude, I developed a 6-step strategy that resulted in colleges calling my home, begging my kids to go to their school.
Okay.
First, you want to talk about, what to do and when to do it. For example, when should your child take the ACT or SAT exams and how often? Again, we've been led to believe that it's just not true, that, they only should take it a couple times and they should wait until junior year. But guess what? There are 3 exam dates where you can purchase your kids' exam, their actual test that they took, the key, and your child's answers. Now they have something to study from for the
Hmm.
next time.
Okay.
The next thing we do is evaluate your child's activities. Are they passionate about what they're doing? And how can we design their high school experience to enhance their college and scholarship applications? For example, Many of the largest scholarship applications begin with pages and pages of checkboxes of typical high school activities and leadership roles.
Hmm.
But my daughter was homeschooled. She couldn't check enough boxes to get to the next level of the application process. My son, however, was 5 years behind her, and I still had the scholarship application.
Hmm.
So, with the help of another homeschool mom, we created opportunities for our kids to be able to check those boxes. In the
Okay.
end, my son became a Coca-Cola Scholars semifinalist.
Nice.
In step three, we develop your child's high school to college CV and resume. Now, this is not the same as an employment resume. It has a different purpose. Everything on this CV will be on their college applications. And then I also show you how to change it for today's types of employment and, well, internships that they'll need for college.
Okay.
Step four, here's where I show you how to find the money. Now, most parents and teens are doing it backwards. They wait until they have college acceptance and a financial aid offer and notice that there's a gap in their finances. That's when they
Right.
start looking for scholarships.
Right.
But the,
So
go ahead.
I just want to say, so what I'm hearing you say with some of these steps is like there's way more to be doing before you're just looking for the scholarships, which intuitively that's the first thing I'm thinking of is, okay, Denise is going to help me find scholarships and money for my kids, but there's way more that needs to be done and started at an earlier time frame than, like you said, when they're teens or they're in their junior year. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Because one thing that people don't realize is that there are scholarships for literally every single age group. It's not just high school senior year or just before they start college. Scholarships actually begin in kindergarten. Now, there's not very many. There's literally only one scholarship for kindergarten. But
Okay.
if you think about the number of scholarships available for our kids, I used to say it's like a bell curve, but it's actually more like an upside down letter V
Mm,
because the peak is high school seniors. Overwhelmingly, the vast majority of opportunities to apply for scholarships is for high school seniors,
okay.
but it tapers off on both sides. So on one end, you've got a scholarship for kindergarten. On the other end, there are a few scholarships even for, well, medical school, all types of higher education. So what I say is don't stop looking for free money until the last parchment is in hand.
Okay.
Both of my kids even won additional scholarships while they were in college.
Okay. And the reason I ask this is because this is important information for the men that are listening. And I'd like to point out for the men that are listening that are even going through divorce now to make this part of their thought process of, going forward, even if your kids were 6, 4, and 2, like mine were. I wish I would have thought through this during the divorce negotiations, because one of the things I talk about all the time is you're going through this and the biggest impact is going to be down the road with your kids. So you need to be thinking what is in their best interest down the road, not necessarily just like right now. So this is a huge, huge aspect about that, because what you're saying is all of this stuff takes preparation way in advance. Not that you can't find something, or even if they come to you like I am now when they're in high school, that you can still help them, but more preparation, more forethought is going to help immensely.
Absolutely, because the earlier you start, the more opportunities there are. It
Mm,
doesn't really matter how late you start because the money is there. I'm just going to put it right there on the table. The money is there. But the later you start, the more money you have left on the table. The
uh,
real key is starting early. Absolutely.
mm.
Well,
and
in
and
step
how and
five,
how and how like you said kindergarten, but
mhm,
realistically, how early do you need to be thinking about this? Is it elementary school? Is it junior high? And I'm speaking for college because you said there's money for everything, which it was absolutely true. But if we're planning for college, like, should we be thinking about this in junior high, what they're doing in junior high and how they're going to start taking these tests, or should it be even elementary school, or should it be freshman year? Kind of give us a gauge for those of us who are worried like I am now that I'm way behind the 8 ball.
Well, here's the deal. When I thought about that for my kids, and I'll be honest with you, I got lucky because we just happened to have some of the things that were going to help later on set in place early.
Mm.
If you think about it, when I was in college, at our age, I'm gonna call it kind of middle-aged advanced.
Thank you.
um,
That's nice.
back back when we were in college or going to school or about to apply, college applications did not go in. They were not submitted until the last half of your high school senior year.
Right.
January, February, March, those were the deadlines.
Yep.
Today, college applications, many of them are going in early senior year, early high school senior year. What that means is that any accolades, any leadership roles, anything that they were involved in probably won't show up if they're turning in their application August 1st. They haven't even stepped foot on their high school campus yet for senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, we need to back up at least a year or so into the middle school grades to give our kids opportunities to, well, find what it is they really are interested in, find their passion, and then be able to develop that into a leadership role that does end up on their college applications and scholarship applications. So I believe that middle school is ideal. At least touch base with me once, sometime during middle school, so we can get you started thinking about this and preparing your child and giving your kids opportunities. Let me give you an example of that. When I had my kids at home, I sent them to summer camps. In our area, they had churches that had week-long summer camps every year. They were free. Hey, that's free babysitting. That's what my mother used to call it. But occasionally they would go to a paid camp as well. During one of those years, I sent my son to 5 week-long summer camps. Well, after the fourth one, he asks, "So tell me again why I'm going to so many camps." I said, "Because my job is to give you opportunity. Your job is to find your passion."
Oh, I like that.
Now, during that last camp, being a son, being my son, he doesn't talk much. So he had been going to this camp for 5 days. Here we are on the last day. I'm picking him up. I said, "Son, you haven't said a thing. Tell me what you liked or didn't like about this camp." Because that's something that I want parents to understand. As a mom or a dad, your job is to pay attention to your kid, really, to
Yeah.
figure out what is it that they enjoy, what they like, what they don't like. But sometimes you actually have to ask questions.
Yeah.
So I asked, "What is it that you liked or didn't like about it?" He said, "I really liked the robots." And then he
Hmm.
paused for a moment and he said, "No, what I really liked was programming the robots."
Cool.
I said, "Son, we can do that." So a year or two later, I was able to find it was a homeschool program online that I could purchase to teach my kid how to do this programming thing. And he thrived with it. He really loved it. Well, fast forward a few years, in college, he gets a degree in his BS in mechanical engineering with a minor in aerospace engineering. And his forte is computer aided design. It's what he loves to do, it's what he does in every team project.
Wow.
So you never know what little opportunity you give to your kid that you offer is going to turn out to be something that they are so passionate and really enjoy and love. So
Right.
for parents, you want to start early because of those reasons. Um, but also, it gives you an opportunity to think through what can we do with things that they enjoy throughout high school that can really enhance their applications. For example, if you come to me in middle school and you say, he's been playing ball for the local park since he was 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. Is Johnny going to play college ball? Well, most parents are going to say, "I don't know. He's 12."
Right.
Well, then my answer to that is, Well, I don't want to disappoint you, but the answer is no, because
Mm.
those kids were picked out at age 8 and 9. Think
Hmm.
Tiger
Right.
Woods, right?
Yep.
But that doesn't mean he's got to quit. Then we have to ask another question. Does Johnny love it? Or is he only there because parents have been dropping him off three
Right.
times a week since he was 3 years old, right? If he loves it, now we can work with that, because then we can start looking at high school and say, okay, so he loves this thing. He loves playing ball. Maybe he can get on as an assistant coach for the Little
Mm.
League in the area. Maybe he can have weekend workshops or even a summer camp that he can hold. Some of it might be volunteer work, so it goes under his community service on his application. Some of it can be paid, so now he's got entrepreneurship on the
Yeah.
application. What I find is that one of the three things that colleges are looking for on their applications is, where do you fit into the campus community? That
Mm.
would be, well, Johnny loves playing ball. So even though Johnny's not going to play for the college, he will probably participate in intramural sports.
Hmm. Right.
The other thing they're looking for is he going to pass and graduate? Because that affects their numbers as well. Your grades and test scores, that's where that comes from. And last but very much not least, colleges are looking for, what kind of an alumni are you going to be?
Oh.
How are you going to reflect back on the college that you went to for 4 to 6 years?
Right. Interesting. So this is very interesting for me personally, again, because this show's about me today. Because I have one daughter, my oldest, who's really found her passion. She's very into music. So she knows, and she's kind of already started this process on her own, which is really remarkable. So I'm feeling a little less fearful right now after hearing what you've talked about. But then I've got another one who's not quite, like, she's in middle school and like hasn't quite figured out, like, is dabbled in some stuff, got good at some stuff, but then dropped it. And then I've got another one who's still just kind of like figuring out. Fortunately, that's the youngest, which, and maybe this is all like linear around their age groups and this, but that's phenomenal to know that. And I love that. I loved what you said about asking questions, right? That we should be there to be asking questions to our kids to help guide them in their life. So this is just totally off the debt-free college thing, but being present with your children and guiding them to help them learn and understand what direction and what meaning, like the meaning thing for kids these days, I feel is really, really important. Finding some meaning in their life, because a lot of it is just playing video games and whatever, eating Cheetos. And that's not, it's not meaningful, right? It's not moving you in a direction that's contributing to society, helping you feel good about yourself, doing anything. And so I loved that question that you just stated there.
Well, and let me address video games as well, because yes, there are kids that, that's pretty much what they do. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. If they
Sure.
really enjoy it and, engage with your kid and figure out what is it they enjoy, what are they actually doing in these games? Because what I found is that some of these games, they're actually directing some of the play, so to speak, and in some cases they're actually uh, programming what it is that they're doing within the game. So if they
Sure.
love it that much, then get them into HTML, get them into programming, figure
Yeah.
out what can we do again to enhance how this looks on their college applications, because it is very important. And you mentioned, finding your passion, and your daughter's into music. That's great, because in the fifth step out of six, what we do is find your child's story.
Mm.
This is the essays. This is what they're going to be putting on their college applications. What do they want them to know that's not already on there with lists of activities or community service that they're doing or their grades? What do you want them to know about who you are, right?
Right.
Because that's really important. And even for outside scholarships, it's the same thing. The company giving the award wants to feel like they know you when they're handing you a check, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So then in the sixth step, in the final step of my program, Everything that we've completed thus far becomes part of the application package for one of the largest scholarships in the country, the Elks Most Valuable Student Scholarship.
Okay.
Now, both my kids won this scholarship, and it's only for high school seniors, but you have to start early to be able to develop the application, to develop your kids' package, right?
Mm-hmm.
When my daughter submitted her first college application, she was still a high school junior. This school had year-round applications. They just had a bunch of check boxes at the top, and you
Mm-hmm.
check the boxes to which semester you plan to begin. Well, 3 days later, we got a call from the university saying they had received my daughter's application, but did not receive the application fee. Now, come on, this is part of following instructions. Just saying, we don't
Right.
have everything perfect, right?
Uh-huh.
And the application should have ended up in a pile, which would end up eventually in file 13 because the check would never have come.
Mm-hmm.
But the gentleman said they had received the application and did not receive the application fee, and they wanted to offer her tuition, fees, room, board, and books, but they need the fee to process the scholarship.
Wow.
Now, I'm not getting too excited yet because surely he's made a mistake. So then I asked, "You do know she's a junior?" To which he replied, "Yes, ma'am. We'll wait for her."
Wow.
The application package that we are creating is the difference between Six Flags and Disney World. They both have the same components:
Right.
rides, shows, and food. But Disney does two things differently: marketing and storytelling. And that's the difference in this application package. You know, a lot of parents, they may not really understand if I say, what we're doing here is marketing your child to the college.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the dads who are in work and maybe even own their own business understand what I mean by that.
Sure.
You want to be the one who is, who the colleges are seeking out. Because
Right.
when they are paying scholarships, they're paying you to go there.
Right.
They're the buyer. So you want to, it's such an awesome opportunity for your kids. I can't say enough about it.
Yeah, that is an amazing story. I don't think I don't think we could end it any better than that, because it's absolutely spot on, perfect description of what we're doing. Denise, this has been unbelievably eye-opening for me. We talked for quite a while before this, but like now I even have even more information. So um, can you please share the offer that you've got for the dads out there listening? And I'm just going to say I'm going to be going through this at some point in the near future and figuring this out with you. So I hope that maybe we can connect again sometime and talk about this, because it's a huge opportunity. 600,000 people every year, our kids every year, graduate debt free. There's no reason it's not going to be one of all three of my daughters now.
Hey, if I could do it twice, right? I mean, I looked at a statistic recently that said only only 1.5% of college students are able to fund 100% of their cost of attendance with scholarships. 1.5%. I did that twice
That's amazing.
in the same household. So that's a strategy. That's not luck.
Yeah, right, exactly. So tell us what your offer is, and then also share with us how we can connect with you.
Well, I have an ebook for dads that have middle school kids. It's
Oh,
titled, "Are You Wasting the Middle School Years?" Because we don't usually think about middle school. Middle school is just a pass through from elementary to high school, but it's really not. It's a lot more important. So this ebook is for you. All you have to do is sign up. I'm sure Jude will put the link in the show notes,
yes.
and just get in touch with me on the website as well if you have any questions, and we can connect that way.
Awesome. And then do you have a YouTube channel, podcast, anywhere else that people can connect? Because I always ask, if you found some value, please go subscribe, leave a review, do the same for our channel here because, as you know, it helps us immensely to get some of that word of mouth out there.
Absolutely. I am considered the debt-free college coach, and you'll find me on YouTube. My channel is Debt Free Degree TV. Same for the podcast channel is also called Debt Free Degree.
Awesome. Debt-free college coach, Denise Thomas, thanks so much. I appreciate all of this brilliant wisdom.